this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey. We're glad to have you back with us once again. This podcast being brought to you from the MacTech Solutions podcast studios here in Wichita Falls, Texas. MacTech Solutions is located at 4020 Ray Road, Wichita Falls. MacTech-Solutions.com, the website. If you need a new computer, a Mac particularly, or any Apple product, or if you need service for your Apple products here in North Texas or Southern Oklahoma, MacTech Solutions is the place to come get it done. Again, MacTech-Solutions.com.
The place to come get it done.
Yeah, with emphasis on the.
That's right, the.
Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls, one of our sponsors also.
Yes.
The Power Sports Authority in Wichita Falls and the surrounding area, EddieHillsFunCycles.com, the website.
And mowers.
And mowers.
Yeah,
yes.
zero turn hustler mowers. You're going to need one.
Yeah, I got one from him.
People's grass is growing like crazy right now, and it's about to take off because we've had all this wet, and now it's going to be really warm. It's going to be in the 90s the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Your grass is going to take off like you won't believe.
Yeah, you're going to have grass up to your ears.
And they're all on sale right now. All the hustler mowers are on sale right now at Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles.
And it's also brought to you by Lollie and Pop Sweet Shop, lpsweet.com. Also get us on Facebook, Lollie and Pop Sweet Shop.
Cookies and pie.
Lovely stuff, too.
Yep, absolutely.
So
we had an episode. Got to go look back for the pie episode.
Yeah, we have
and the cookie episode.
Yeah, we have a pie and a cookie episode both.
Oh, we got more. We got more coming too.
All right.
Our very special guest on this particular installment of the show is Sam Pock. He is a candidate for Wichita Falls City Council at Lodge.
Yes, sir.
Real quick question, because I've heard it both ways. Is it Pock or Pock?
Well, officially, it's Sam Pock.
Yeah, okay.
But I've grown up with Sam Pock because that's my name.
Right.
My dad, he goes by Pock.
Pock, yes.
And my dad's brother, biological brother, when they came to America, his last name is Park, P-A-R-K. So B-A-E-K, P-A-R-K, P-A-K, those are all the same because it's Pock. It's a B-P-A-E-K. It's how it sounds like, but it's Pock.
Because I've heard people call your dad Pock, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that Pack? And I've been wondering if I'm saying your name wrong. So you know what we should have done? We should have had Return of the Pack, the song Return of the Mac, and changed it to Return of the Pack. Yes. Played that.
We'll edit this later.
Okay, well, you can blame your wife for me getting it wrong.
Yeah,
because that's how she told me.
Well, I've always said it too, but I heard and I've been meaning to ask you, refer to your dad as Pock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, same guy.
Well, that's because he was a pastor for Cream Baptist Church, right. So they say Songwa Pock.
Songwa, yeah.
Yeah, so that's my dad's name. But growing up, here all my life, you have people go, oh, Pock. Okay.
Good enough.
So that's what
I understand.
What I've gone with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clear that up.
Yeah. They could call you Smith, you'd answer to it. Would that be
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
Right. Sam.
Yeah. Sam, not Sammy.
Yeah.
Just Sam.
Just Sam.
Or Samuel.
Or Samuel.
That's mine.
Yeah, Samuel on his professional stuff.
Yeah,
is Samuel. Speaking of professional, let our viewers know what do you do professionally? Because I know why you're here, but that's not about.
I've been a financial advisor for 24 years. The last 3 years, I was named one of the top advisors in Texas for 3 years in a row.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
How does what's the criteria on that? Is
no complaints. I mean, they do all this research about who you are, your score with your clients. They and then how well you do. So I don't know the metric of that, but I know that they dig into your past for that.
So people come to you and they say, "Here's my money. Let's do something with it." Is it kind of how they?
Yeah, kind of. It's more like, okay, where are you at?
Yeah.
Where do you want to be? And I work backwards. So anyone who goes, I hate when people say they're financial advisors and they sell them insurance or they sell them stocks. I'm like, hold on. The real financial advisors go, well, what do you want? What is your tax bracket? What does your family look like? What are your goals? And then you work backwards from that. And so if someone goes, oh, just invest it here, that's a they call them brokers for a reason.
Yeah. That's a sign of a professional.
Yeah.
But you're here for another reason.
Yeah.
So you decided to run for the at-large position. Now you've been in the political arena before. You've run for office before. Most recently, was it Council District 4? Okay, all right. And but why did you choose to get into this race? Why the at-large position? Why politics at all? I mean, it sounds like you got a great life, Sam. You got a great career.
And then
you
want
know,
a
wonderful wife.
That is an awesome question. You know,
home life is great now, and you want to. And did you just lose your mind or what? What happened here?
You know, I've been asked to run for politics for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I've always said no because it doesn't make any money. It's a lot of time and a lot of effort. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you guys know I'm really involved in the community, and I've been I've sat on different kind of commissions and boards and all across, and I go to everything around here. And so I see problems, and as a financial advisor, I look at macroeconomics and figure out where we're at. Mm-hmm. And there's things I see, I'm like, hey, we should fix this. Mm-hmm. And then I have friends in politics, you guys know that, and I'm like, hey, let's fix this. And it kind of goes in one ear out the other. I'm like, we complain that our city is not growing. We complain about certain things that keep happening over and over again, and yet nothing gets done. And they go, and I just want to fix it. I just don't understand how it's not fixed.
Let's come up with answers.
Yeah. Well, no, and I've come up with some. And I even, in the last race I ran, I wrote a blueprint. Did anyone read it? Did you read the blueprint? And it kind of states, look, if you do this, take it as your own credit. I don't care. I don't have to run. If these things get fixed, then I will gladly step back.
Well, let's start there, because you talked about what's our goal. Let's work back from that as a financial planner. Kind of the same thing as in city government. We need to figure out what is our goal. Where do we want to end up, and then let's figure out the steps to get there.
Yeah.
What leads us there? So, what would you identify as 2 or 3 or 4 really big things that we should be doing, or maybe not so big things that we should be doing?
There's a lot.
Well, I know there is a lot.
So first of all,
we got 30 minutes, Sam.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want is better paying jobs. We have done a horrible job in attracting higher paying jobs. When we lost Delphi back in the early 2000s, we lost hundreds of jobs that were paying $60,000, $70,000. Then we went from that to paying $7.25 an hour for call centers. That was horrible. Someone said Wichita Falls reminds them of like a secondhand store, because we have a ton of them. We lost our Dillards, we lost all of our nice stuff, and we have all the secondhand store. And it's because of our jobs. If we don't have jobs that pay well, then we can only buy cheap stuff.
And if somebody's watching, just real quickly, as a little segue, if somebody's watching outside of the North Texas area, $70,000 a year in Wichita Falls will buy you a pretty nice life. Yeah.
Yes.
If you're in California, you're probably going $70,000 a year. I mean, you can't
we are
hot
the
pocket
number
for
2
that.
city in the nation for
affordability. Yeah, I just wanted to set that so people, because people do watch from all over, and they realize that $70,000 a year, $70,000 a year in Wichita Falls is a good. You can have a really good living.
If you live on the West Coast, your $600,000 home would cost you $280,000 here.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
my cousin has a
comparison.
$3.5 million house. He married into a family, a $3.5 million house. He was living in an apartment. He was paying $3,500 a month. His taxes and insurance are now $3,500 a month for the house that he's living in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
$3,500 a month just for taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I just want to segue out. So go right. Sorry, I just wanted to let people know that $70,000 in Wichita Falls is a good living.
Yeah, right. And I think that I want better jobs. I'm not necessarily saying we need to grow bigger. I don't want Wichita Falls to be this huge metroplex, because we all love it here because we can drive anywhere we want. I just want better jobs. I want every business here, your business to thrive.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if there's no money.
Well, I think the reality is we're never going to be the size of Dallas, Texas.
Sure.
We're never going to be the size of Fort Worth, Texas. I don't think we want to be, and I don't think we will be.
Yeah.
But I do think that for the longest time I felt like growth to a population of 120 or 25,000 was a realistic number and a very attainable number, with given a little bit of time and a lot of effort. The jobs part of it, yes, is very important. One of the things I know we've struggled against and this goes back before the fiasco that was 2020, is labor force. Yeah. Back in 2019, we were sitting here, 2018, 2019, we were looking at an unemployment rate somewhere around 2.8, 2.9%. Which basically means everybody that wants a job's got a job.
Sure.
And there's people that have jobs that don't really want them.
Yeah.
Because somebody's kind of pushed them into it.
So you've got you get into a bit of a labor force issue there where, okay, yes, we want to attract more business, but will we have the labor force available? Because when a company is looking at a place to relocate to, obviously labor force is number one they're looking at. Can we actually get people to go to work for us?
So that's the second part. So my first campaign slogan I ran was better paying jobs, better quality of life. Because better quality of life attracts that labor force. People move. So the next generation of kids, they're not like how we used to grow up. Like we'd move there because of a job.
Right.
Now kids go to some place and go, I'll find a job once I get there because I want to live there first.
Right.
And we've talked about this before. It does. In some ways, I actually admire some of the younger generation for this. They're not as much they don't mind as much about the stuff. It's about the experience.
Yep, correct.
They would rather spend money. They would rather live in a smaller house or an apartment, or don't worry about owning the big house and all that. As long as I could take vacations, I can have a vibrant downtown, I can have nightlife and stuff like that. It's more about experiences than it's stuff. Whereas we all kind of grew up where it was get a house, get to this, do your stuff. Buy 3 cars, do this. Whereas them, it's like experiences.
Well, we grew up in an era where the rule was he who dies with the most toys wins, and so that was kind of the objective is have the 2,500 square foot house and the 3-car garage, and at least one of them's got to be a Mercedes. And, I mean that was the
Corvette.
mentality, a Corvette or whatever, yeah. And you're right. I think this generation, the last couple, in fact, have been less focused on the stuff.
I think there should be a nice balance between the two.
Sure.
Yeah. So just who would you say in Texas is the closest to our city as far as the similarity?
Similarities will be Abilene because they have
Abilene.
college
Well,
there. They have
and I was bringing that up. Yep, right on. I got just you can't see it here, but here's an interesting thing. In 1980,
they've grown
98,000. 1990, 106,000. Now there was a buildup, and during that time was the B-1 bomber coming to Abilene. Then in 2000, 115, so that's a 9,000 increase. 2010, 117, that's a little bit, but then 2020, they're at 125,000. So, and I'm sure theirs was undercounted, much like ours. Sure. We expected ours was undercounted, but yet we lost, and we've been static for this for a lot of that period. And
since 1960.
Yeah, and 1%, I think even a 1% growth would be a healthy growth. If you think about it, in the next census, if we started this year, so at 2024, somehow we got 1% growth, that's 1,000 people, and we would see in 6 years we'd have initial 6,000. That would be 100. And where are we at right now?
Population will come. It's the whole adage: if you build it, they will come. If we have better jobs, or we have the ability that they can earn a living here, they will come. Our kids are graduating high school and college. At one point, it was like maybe 9 years ago, our 3 high schools were ranked in the top 100 schools in Texas and whatever, and then our college was ranked number 1 in the nation for its value and price.
Yeah.
So what would happen is we'd have these very intelligent kids, but as soon as they graduate, the first thing they go is, getting out of Wichita Falls is a black hole. We've all heard it. There's nothing to do, right? Yeah. So how do we have that paradigm shift for the next generation? So you guys know I've also been a pretty big proponent of downtown. I've been doing that for over a decade. Yeah. And I see that there needs to be a psychological rite of passage for those kids to have, right? So like, the Aborigines in Africa would jump out of a tree with a rope tied around their ankle and go, if you survive this, you're an adult. Well, whenever I wasn't 18 years old, I went down to Dallas or I went down to Austin because I got to be an adult there, right? For a long time, we had nothing for our and this is a psychological issue that we have to address and to provide for them. Go, hey, look, you can be part I'm not advocating for a bunch of bars and a bunch of whatever, but they need to have that feel that, I can be an adult and stay in Wichita Falls. Right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I can have some fun
one
here
reason
in my
that's one way that Abilene did it. Abilene grew their downtown. They restored their downtown back in the late 80s, early 90s is when they started their downtown restoration project, and it's obviously paid off.
I know you've heard it. Everyone at this table has seen it and heard it on social media and other places. There are actually people that feel like revitalizing our downtown is a waste of time and money. And my response to them has always been, why in the hell would you want an entire section of your city to just die? and just sit there and rot. Why would you want that?
So I'm an analytic. Like, I just study numbers. Here's what I'll tell you. In 2021, our sales tax dollars grew really high. I think it was 14.3%. I don't know. In front of me. And that's after we take off the inflationary cost that people go, this is because of inflation. So I subtract the inflation and go, well, where did that money come from? Where that money came from was our downtown growth. Why? Because instead of people leaving to go somewhere to have entertainment, to have drinks, to go shopping, they stayed here. So what that means is the money that we spent, I think we spent like about $10 million on some of the projects in the last 10 years, somewhere around 9-point-something million. Yeah. But we have incurred more revenue. Yeah. So our IRR for that is like 20% or like 18%. That's year over year. That's a great rate of return. Mm-hmm. So why, if you're arguing, well, why we've been doing this, look at it as an investment that in the future we have to pay less taxes because we're getting revenue or our government gets more money. Does that make sense?
Well, that and getting with the new hotel with and that of course will be an attraction for the Impact, which has never made any money yet, and whether it will or not, it
was never supposed to.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
No, I think you almost have to treat a facility like that in what they call in the retail world a loss leader.
Yeah.
You know, you got to treat it. You got to treat it like that. It's going to attract people to your city. They're going to come here for the event or whatever's going on there. But while they're here, they're going to buy gas. They're going to buy a meal out. They're going to maybe do some shopping.
You stay in your hotel.
They're going to stay in their hotel.
Good hotel motel.
They're going to drop some sales
tax
tax revenue.
That, right?
So they're going to drop some tax revenue while they're here.
And recently, that same company bought another hotel.
Yes.
Because they couldn't keep this hotel, or it kept it so full, and so they were referring to a hotel that they didn't control, and so they bought this other hotel just so they could have that.
The only complaint I have about the Impact is they need to upgrade some of their facilities.
Oh, yeah,
totally.
Sound.
So
totally.
The sound. So that's the reason why people go, oh, the reason why the Nighthawks and the hockey teams and all them didn't make it is because we didn't support them. Well, there was money that was supporting them. The problem is that we weren't keeping in compliance with the contract. The contract says, hey, if our team comes to Wichita Falls, team's fan base wants to watch the game, wants to listen to the game. And you have no digital equipment, no digital video, nothing. Right. So they kept, it's the same thing over and over again. They bring a new team in, it survives a little while, and then people go, well, they're not keeping.
Well, you got a facility in the K. Yeager Coliseum. You got a facility there that was never built to be a multi-purpose venue like it needs to be. Yep. It needs to be able to handle a sporting event, a concert event, whatever that is. It needs to be able to flex and handle.
Well, it is multi-purpose. It says right on the name.
Yeah, well, it's not. it's not.
Come on, Mike. It says right there on the big sign.
It's an acronym and everything.
Yeah, we got a horse barn, we got an exhibit hall, and we got a coliseum, and you can't hear squat going on in there. And I've been to some shows at the Coliseum. I've been to one or two that sounded great, and if you got a sound guy that really knows how to dial it in right, you can make it work. But if you don't,
see, the problem is,
terrible.
Jason Mayfield does most of the events out there. And so I've actually volunteered to help him set up because I want to understand what the problems is firsthand. Mm-hmm. The reason why people go, well, we don't get any good action in Wichita Falls. Like, yes, here's the reason why. Let's say Garth Brooks wants to come to win Wichita Falls. Well, if Garth Brooks wants to perform at K. Yeager, we have to go and hire a company out of Dallas-Fort Worth to build a stage because our trusses cannot hold it. So that means it's extra cost for them, and it's 2 days. You have to give all of them a hotel night stay, and that's for a one-night concert. Get all the trucks loaded and unloaded, and there's like 8 trucks that needs to build a trussing station. Mm-hmm. And then our capacity is only X amount, so the prices have to go up to compensate for bringing all this equipment.
Which then people won't go because it's so expensive.
It's this it's a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. If we have a better system, then we can have better acts because we'll already have everything set up and ready to go.
Well, Sam, I will tell you to that end also, having been on the promotion end of some things over the years. Another thing that hurts us too is we are not a market, and this is a cultural thing. I don't know. We're not a market that sees benefit in going out and buying the ticket 2 months early.
Pre-sold tickets.
Wichita Falls is horrible.
We're terrible. Yeah. Our attitude is, well, it's not going to sell out. I'll just wait and buy my ticket the night of the event. That doesn't work. The promoters get 3, 4, 5 weeks out from the event. They've only sold about 10% of the tickets. They get cold feet and say, we're pulling the plug because this is going to fail. So they pull the plug here and take it down the road somewhere else.
But also,
that has been killing us for years. But that is an attitude of the people that's got to change. We've got to change, and no one. I don't think anyone has ever taken the time to educate people on that. I've tried to, but I'm one guy.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry, Terry, you were going to say something?
Well, no, I was going to say on top of that, though, it just makes it super easy here because we're usually we're just an extra night to fill in between the weekends, typically.
Yeah.
Occasionally we get something on a weekend, but it's just...
The performers got a show in Dallas this Saturday, and they're going to be in Amarillo next Saturday.
Right.
So on Wednesday night, they're going to stop in Wichita Falls.
Might as well fill in. Yeah,
do a show,
fill
and
in
then
the
they'll
gap.
go on
So
to
it's
the next
easy.
gig.
It's and if it doesn't go, then fine.
Okay, so moving on from that, though, other things economically, growth-wise, we talked about quality of life. Okay, we need to do more things with downtown. We need to do things to keep our young people here, to attract industry here. How do we, when a company is looking at our city and they're looking at the demographics, they're looking at the labor force, they're looking at all the stuff that we have to offer a company and the people that would work for them. What do we do in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Obviously, we need to turn a corner,
and more
pretty
specifically
fast.
as a city councilor.
Yeah,
because we know the chamber does their thing and things like that. But
you're one vote on a body of 7 people.
So we need to advocate for better infrastructure and better policies, right? So with the water, we know how that's going right now. We've also been pushing for the idea of working with our politicians to get I-44 to not just either stop or end, wherever you want to say it, in Wichita Falls, but to go straight down. I'd like to see 281 become I-44, to be a parallel channel for 35, because 35 is a chokehold. Everyone knows that it's a NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreements corridor, so you don't know if you're going to be stuck there for 2 hours or you can drive straight through. But if we offer a different route, and so what I'm looking at is logistics, like transportation logistics. So the reason why I think there's so much potential in Wichita Falls is because where we're located. We are still in Texas. That means we still have all the great tax rates, right? No individual state taxes and low corporate taxes. But we're on the northern part, and geographically, if you kind of cut the United States in half, we're in the middle. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be the logistics person and want to ship stuff or build stuff, we are in a perfect location. What we need is better infrastructure. We need better roadways. 287 is already kind of like an interstate highway, but to be labeled an interstate highway and to create 44 to keep going down, that can bring more attractiveness to it too. The other thing is Amtrak is my wife was in Washington, D.C. about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago with that group, and one of the ideas is there was a Amtrak going from Oklahoma City to Fort Worth as a passenger train, so to people in the high-speed rail.
Right.
And so we were trying to advocate for them to come to Wichita Falls, but that's kind of a curve. They go, well, what you should be advocating for is for it from Colorado to Fort Worth. There's another train that's coming from Colorado to Fort Worth. If we can get that, if we can start really pushing, and this is like years down the line, but advocacy starts right now. And with Shepherd Air Force Base, advocacy starts right now. So the reason why we hired this outside
the lobbyists.
Lobbyists.
It's lobbyists is what they are. They're lobbyists.
Because, they said we should have had the medical wing. When we had the BRAC, the base realignment closures, we should have had the medical wing. But it's because of lobbyists that pushed them to San Antonio.
Yep.
So if we're not doing our part to lobby for ourselves, then we're going to miss it too. So I talked to some of the colonels and generals down there, and they're like, look, we really need to start realigning how I think the T6 and the new T7s are coming in because they're fixing stuff over there, breaks here, wait for them to go over there, and then bring it back, then they fix this part, take it over there, and then it comes back to us. And that's why there's a bottleneck in pilot training because there's not enough planes, right? That's kind of the logistics. This guy goes, we really need to reorganize this. It'll bring more missions here, but we'll lose some because if we want this to work more efficiently, and it should, but logically it makes sense, but politically that's where we have to start being a bit more being advocate for it. So go, hey, it may make more sense, may save us money, but unless someone can show the dollar signs and advocate from a political standpoint, it's not going to happen.
So what is your thoughts? We're kind of getting a little short on time here. As a city councilor, though, what do you think you can do as a city councilor, what are the top three? Like to say the top three things in a kind of in a Reader's Digest form. What are the top three things that you think you can do as a city councilor?
Well, one thing, the only thing that we can do as a city council, we can't tell anyone what to do, but we can help kind of sway policies. One of the policies I'd really like to do, and I've mentioned this in my blueprint that I wrote, is we've all heard, not just me, and I'm pretty sure everyone here has heard, that Wichita Falls is a hard place to build.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So, and I know our code enforcement department, they're working, but there are some unfair things that happen. 95% of the time, they're right, because someone needed to get that done or put this wall up or whatever that might be. But we all have heard the stories like, this is completely off. Like, there's no reason why we should do this or make me do this. They're telling me after the fact, right? And
Many times.
There's two things I'd like to do. First, anytime our permit's pulled, that it says, hey, either mayor or city council at large, let us know how we're doing. It bypasses their department heads, come straight to us. Mm-hmm. And we go, let me hear your complaints directly. And if there's a bad seed in that department, like I'm not advocating to get rid of anybody. I just want everyone to do their job correctly. I want Wichita Falls' government to be the Chick-fil-A government. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How can we help you? So tell us what we're doing wrong, and then if we find stuff that's going over and over and over again that this one person or this group is blatantly doing wrong, then they should be gone. But I'm not advocating. I want everyone to step up to the plate. How about that?
Well, you coach up or coach out. That's the other side. You can coach people up. So
well, and that's kind of where I am. I mean, you get everybody on the same page in the departments.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody in that department that doesn't want to get on the team and play,
correct,
we will gladly accept your resignation and we will replace you.
Also, I want
and that's the attitude the city manager is running things.
Yep.
That's the attitude his office needs to take toward this. Yep. We're going to get everybody on the same page and working together and working for the people and with the people, not against the people and not against the business owner. Yep. And that's the attitude that's got to be adopted, Sam. It has to be.
The other thing is SOPs, right? So anytime a standing operating procedure, so if a building opens up and it's coded for retail and X amount of space, there should be a book that says, hey, this is what's happening. So over and over we've heard people go, I'll never build in Wichita Falls ever again. I've heard that multiple times. And the reason why is like, well, it's not like we didn't want to not put that in there. But I wish what I'd known from the very beginning. That way I'd have to tear down this wall to put it back in there and then rebuild it again.
Consistency
right?
is
so here's
SOP.
Simple policies is build an SOP that says this is the checklist. Once the checklist is done, it's done. You're good to go. If the city misses it, then next time update your SOP and do it correctly.
Right.
But it's not up to the developer or the builder to go, I'm not sure what mood this person's in of how they want me to build this. There needs to be, like, we all heard about this is a good old boy system, and it kind of is. Like, oh, I'll let Bob get away with it, and I'll let, but Tim, I won't. We need to be we need to start thinking. If we want to grow, we need to stop thinking small city. Yeah. How about that?
Well, I've been saying it for a long time. We're a city of 105, 6,000, and very often we operate like a town of 5,000. And that mentality is going to have to shift and change in order for us to shift and change. And as I was pointing out earlier, we've got to turn a corner pretty quick. And I think we're starting to do that. I think we're starting to see some hints of that. But we got to push a lot harder. We got to push a lot harder if we're going to get this done.
I think we all need to work as one voice. I think Ron Kitchens, our new CEO for the chamber, is doing a fantastic job. Yeah. Here's how I put metrics on it. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see your chamber person. I want to see them, like, going to D.C. and go. If I don't see you and our jobs go up, great. I don't need you to do a morning show telling me what you did yesterday.
Yeah, I want you out recruiting. I want you out recruiting.
I wouldn't, and I want you to try.
Except for our morning show, he does come on here. So
I would rather you try 100 times and fail 95 times and not try at all. Yeah. And the way our city has been running is like we've been getting some scraps. So I remember when we got some. I'm not going to say the names because I don't want to hurt the business, but other cities south of us, they declined it. And then when we got that company come here, we're like, we brought new jobs. I'm like, you brought minimum wage jobs. Yeah. We don't want that. I don't want our mentality to be that we're a minimum wage city. And we have a college here. Most college towns are growing. We've actually sat down and talked to Stacy and talked to the board and said, look, what are the jobs that we need to start preparing for the future? So nursing is a really big one, but the other thing is technology. If we can, right now, with the CHIPS Act, there's money being poured in, right, into that market because we need semiconductors, and we know that China has a huge leverage on the world on that. So we are investing in that. Yeah. But the problem is we can't find enough people to hire for that position, not just in Wichita Falls, but anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
If we start developing jobs focused on that, they will come here.
You mentioned Midwestern, and I've made this point many times, is if a total stranger drives through Wichita Falls, you do not, anywhere you drive through this city, you do not get the sense that this is a college town. No. You do not see anything that tells you we're a college town. We've got this magnificent university sitting in the middle of our city, about 6,600 students, give or take, and millions and millions and millions of dollars have been invested in this campus over the last few years. It's gorgeous, and they've got some great programs. They got some great instructors and some great professors, and they're doing great things. But you cannot drive through this city and tell that that's the case. There should be signs and symbols and visuals all over this city that indicate that Midwestern State University is a part of this community and this community is a part of that college, but you don't see that. We need to change that.
So people ask me, you asked me the question earlier, why am I running? Why am I running for anything? Mm-hmm. So for years, and you guys can all attest to this, I have been trying to do stuff in the background to make things, to answer those questions.
Yes.
I started the hub, right? And it was a weekly calendar, and I was trying to bring people in because I hated people saying there's nothing to do in Wichita Falls. I'm like, look, if you want to live 10 minutes in my shoes, you know I'm like try to be at 3 different places in those 10 minutes. There's tons of stuff. With MSU, like I was on the alumni board. I'm like, we need to put the banners all the way down. You know what's embarrassing? When MSU has a homecoming game and no one in the community knows about it.
I know.
You go to A&M, you go to any other college, the whole place shuts down and everyone's wearing a shirt and heading to the stadium.
Well, I had 3 kids that went to A&M, and there's you can't drive to College Station and not go walk through a grocery store.
Yeah.
Everybody's got A&M stuff.
You're surrounded by it.
And it's not just students. I'm talking about 75-year-old dudes.
I know.
With an A&M hat on.
The question is, how do we make this a college town? And so were you in that panel with us too?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I was out of town. I was on the West Coast.
So I think I'm proposing a three-pronged approach. First is getting buy-in from the community, right? Whether it's putting signs in, whether it's a bank buying T-shirts or letting everyone wear an MSU shirt on Fridays, all their employees, or handing out shirts with their logos on the back, with their bank logos on the back. So that's buy-in. Second is indoctrination of our youth, right? So we kind of look at MSU like, it's a school that's in the MIT, Midwestern
in town.
Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like I want this to be elevated. So look, I want to take our junior high and high school kids, give them free tickets to the game. I know MSU cannot do that, but a company can come and sponsor. If MacTech wants to say, I can buy 1,000 tickets for $1,000 because they can reduce the price, but they can't give it away. But you can give it away to kids. This is sponsored by MacTech Solutions. Give it to those kids at junior high and high school. They'll go, man, I want to be part of that. Because remember, what our next generation is looking for is experiences. Mm-hmm. That's 100%, and that is point number 3. But indoctrination of the youth, giving them shirts, giving them like free games, and the third thing is create experiences. So one of the things that MSU does that they just started doing in the last couple of years is the horse thing. Like if freshmen touch the back horse, the senior touch the front horse. There's 4 horses: freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And as you come in as a freshman, you touch the back of the horse, saying, "I'm getting started," and the horse is in a full gallop by the 4th horse, which means you're a senior and you're ready to go. It's really symbolic. And it's tradition. It's now a tradition. Go to A&M.
Everything's a tradition.
A&M has tradition.
They'll tell you there at A&M, but they do something 3 times, it becomes a tradition.
They live and die by traditions.
Yeah.
But guess what? It indoctrinates them and it creates experiences.
Yeah.
So what can we do that the rest of the community can work hand in? Because you don't have to have gone to A&M to know what this means or gig 'em or anything else.
That's true.
Everyone knows. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing as a community to have a buy-in to go, I know you're from MSU. I support you too. Just buy a honk and whatever that might be. We need to create experiences, right? Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Cape downtown. They're opening up some dorm rooms for MSU students.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Have you taken a look at it?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, right? Why? Because a lot of our students come from Dallas-Fort Worth. They're used to kind of the city living, right?
Yeah.
But we want to have a slow transition for them to go, oh, I can still go and do the fun stuff, but still be in college. Let's create experiences.
And hopefully keep them here.
And keep them
as,
here.
As opposed to, I'm going to get my 4 years and then get out. So
Yeah.
we're running short on time.
short on
So.
Okay, Sam. Obviously, you got. I guess you got a website you can send people to, or a Facebook page.
No, you know
or-
what? So, okay, here's my pitch on why how I'm running.
Okay.
I am not going to raise $1 for my campaign. We complain about how people in D.C. no longer we were just talking about that, how lobbyists, I mean, they don't represent us anymore. Yeah. They represent who puts money in their pocket. This last election, this last local election, everyone who paid the most money won their election, period. We spent over $200,000, and that's not including the in-kind donations. We could have fed 150,000 kids. Mm-hmm. I find it sickening that we buy signs, we put them out, we junk up people's lawns and businesses, and then a couple months later, it's just all thrown away. Mm-hmm. I want people to vote on integrity. If anyone wants to ask me anything, I'll be more than happy to have a cup of coffee with them. Mm-hmm. But if you're voting because of some sign, whoever has the most money could put signs up, then you shouldn't vote. Because you're voting on whoever has the most money.
That's an unusual campaign.
If somebody wants to
it's
get in
fine.
touch with you to set up that coffee meeting or whatever, how do
Yeah,
they
how
get
do
a
they
hold of
get
you?
I've got a Facebook at Samuel Pack for City Council at Lars.
Okay, so that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or,
all right.
I mean, call me, 940. I'll talk to you, 940-867-9396. I've had people call me all the time and go, I've read your blueprint. I want to ask more questions. I'm like, great, let's sit down and talk.
By the way, real quick, I know we got to go, but the first time when they brought the 867, the first few times people said 5309. In my back of my head, when somebody goes 940-867, I heard 5309.
I know, you can't get it out of your head.
Yeah. So anyhow, all right.
But
So-
your phone number again, so they don't get it confused.
940-867-9396. Call, text. You want to email me, Samuel Pack WF at outlook.com.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the look, you can email me on my personal Samuel S Pack at hotmail.com.
It
That's
just
when I
Google
always
search
use
it,
it.
yeah.
You don't email. It's like calling. If you don't call yourself very often, you don't remember your
There
own
you go.
number.
Yeah.
If you don't email yourself very often, you don't remember your own email.
Yeah.
I like 9 emails. I can't tell you any of them right now.
Sam, thanks a lot for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Anyway, thank you for joining us for this episode of Get It Right Texoma. I'm Mike Hendren. This is Terry McAdams. That's Trey Serrala. Sam Pack has been our guest. We appreciate your time, and we will see you down the road.